Thank you for joining us, and this is part 4 of our teaching that we're doing on the name of Yahuah being unique, being special, being no one else named the name of Yahuah. He alone carries that name. And this is found in Psalm 83, verse 18. I'll read again our foundation scripture that we're using. That men may know that you, whose name alone is Yahuah, are most high over all the earth. I don't know if there's not a clearer declaration of the fact is that our creator of everything, of all that you can see, of this whole universe, of everything that's made, that has been made by our creator, and he has a name, and his name is Yahuah. His name is very important. It's if he put it in the scriptures over 7,000 times, or approximately 7,000 times, then it must be important to him. And it should be important to us to know his name. And to know his name, the scripture declares in Psalm 91 that those who know his name, that there's a special blessing that he would deliver us. In Psalm 91, he said he would deliver us and show us his salvation. Those that knew his name. There's a particular blessing knowing the name of our creator and knowing his name is Yahuah. For those who will seek his name, to seek to know and understand his name. There's also a scripture in the book of Malachi talks about that Yahuah, that there's a special book of remembrance made of those that think upon his name. In fact, I think I want to read that to you because that's an important thing to know and understand, that there's a special blessing of Yahuah for those who think upon his name. This is found, like I said, in the book of Malachi. It's the last book before you get into the last book of the Tanakh, of the Old Testament. And yeah, here it is. It's in chapter 3, and it's starting at verse 16. It says, "Then they that feared Yahuah spoke." Of course, your English translation would say the word Lord, but remember, when you're reading out of English translation, every time you see the word Lord capitalized, that's where you're going to find, if you're reading from the original text, the Hebrew text, you would find the name Yahuah there. "Then they that feared Yahuah spoke often one to another, and Yahuah hearkened." In other words, he paid attention to that, and he heard it, it says. Those that feared Yahuah and spoke often one to another. And Yahuah heard it, and hearkened it, and heard it. And a book, notice this, a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Yahuah, or reverenced him. That's what it's talking about, the fear. It's not the fear like we're afraid that he's going to get us or do something, you know. It's a reverential fear. It's a reverence that we honor him and we recognize him, who he is. He's our creator. He's the creator of all things. He's who has given you life. He made you. And it says that and they that thought upon his name. That's the last part of that verse. He said a book of remembrance was written for Yahuah. In other words, Yahuah said, I want a book written for me, especially for those who fear me and who think upon my name. And they thought upon his name. Well, I know that I'm in that book because I've spent many hours thinking about his name. And I know that, and I hope and pray, and of course you're watching this video here, and I hope you have an interest to know and to study and to think upon his name, because there's a special book that's going to be with your name in it if you do. What a blessing. Let's read the rest of this. Verse 17 says, "And they shall be mine, says Yahuah of Sabah." The word host here is used, but it's Sabah is the Hebrew word. It's actually saying Yahuah of Sabah is the Yahuah of all the armies of his, it's a reference to like the military. In other words, Yahuah has an army, and he's the one that's in charge of it, and that's what this word means here. "They shall be mine, says Yahuah Sabah, in that day when I will make up my jewels, and I'll spare them, as a man spares his own son that serves him." I don't know how that. I mean, that really just encourages me to know that Yahuah considers us special, and that He considers us His jewels. In other words, something that's very valuable to Him. And to think that that Yahuah sees us that way, not because of anything that we've done, it's because of who He has made us. We are His. We are. The Scripture declares in the book of Ephesians that we're His workmanship, created in Yahushua HaMashiach, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to His mercy, He saved us. We're special unto Yahuah. That's what the Scripture declares, that we're unique. That when the Scripture tells us to be holy, or is talking about us being set apart, unique. You know, if you're born from above, you have the Ruach. If you have the Spirit of Yahuah in you, then you belong to Him. You belong to His family. You're not just a friend of Yahuah, as Moshe was, or Abraham. You are a child of Yahuah. For whosoever believeth that Yahushua is the Son of Yahuah is born of Yahuah. John wrote in 1 John chapter 3, he said, "Beloved, now are we the sons of Yahuah." Now are we. He starts that verse off by saying, "Behold, what manner of love the Father has bestowed upon us, that we should be called the sons of Yahuah." Wow. You're a child of Yahuah. You're born of His Spirit. That's why you're special to Him. My children are special to me because they're born of me. And if you have children, they're special to you for that reason. And, you know, in the sight of Yahuah, you belong to Him. You're part of His family. You're His children. And He loves His children. And the Scripture declares that eye has not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which Yahuah has prepared for them that love Him. Oh, that's something to rejoice in. That's something to be glad about. That's something to say hallelujah, because that's a reality. That's what the Scripture declares about us. And we know that His Word is truth. Yahushua said, "Sanctify," or set them apart, Father, by Your Word. Your Word is truth. His Word is the truth. And that's who we are. Thank you for joining us. We'll pick back up on this in our next session. And look forward to that. Let me know, as I've said before many times, as you're listening to this, let me know that you're listening. Let me know that you're being blessed. And anything that you want to encourage me with, tell me about, ask questions about. If I don't get to answer your questions right away, just know that I'll try to get to them as soon as I can, because I'm trying to focus on what I'm sharing right now. But I'm here to help you, and I'm a servant of Yahuah, called to preach and proclaim the name of Yahuah. And I just thank you for the privilege of being able to do that. Thank you for your time. Shalom.